Well, if it really did lose all its leaves, then I think it's time to throw it away. It will never recover. Hi, I'm miltonchang of Bonsaiheirloom. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you watching it. Please click like if you think I'm informative, and send me questions so that I can be more germane. Subscribe to our channel. Send us your email address so that we can notify you of any announcement of product availability, which will be limited supply, but we intend to do that probably in the October timeframe. But we will ship out the raffle winner trees September as promised. So let me jump into the question. One of them is like, how do I do cutting? So it reminds me that when you want to send me a question, provide me as much background information as you can. Like, for example, which state are you in? And and what time of the season are you relating to the question? What kind of tree, what kind of condition you're growing them in, and so forth, so I can be give you better answers. In this case, I think my response to this person about cutting, one is to please search our past video, because I did a number on cuttings. But that brought up a more interesting subject about doing your own research. You know, there's so much information on the web, and not all of them are good actually, but if you look at 3 or 4 samples, pretty soon you can draw a general conclusion about what is a good answer to your question. And that's a really good way to learn, because when you're studying them, you're challenging the answers, and you really learn the firsthand, in some sense, active learning. The second thing is getting to the habit of doing research. That is an aspect of the research, and going into Google itself, the YouTube, and so forth. Nowadays, AI is actually already doing all the research for you. You know, one interesting thought is that people spend 5, 6, 10 years to get a PhD degree. You know, what they learn in the process, nothing more than to learn about how to do research, to find an answer to a unsolved problem. The reality is there's very little new invention, because everything is well known, but it's how you put it all together intellectually. That is the key to the output of your research. So in that sense, research is an active learning. And finally, is draw your own conclusions. Like one advice I give to young people is that when you work with mentors, don't rely on them to say, hey, you know, so-and-so, I have this problem, what do you think I should do? That's not a good active way to learning or to impress your mentor. But rather to say, this is my problem, this is a solution I come up with by doing a little bit of research. What do you think? How can you improve my conclusion? And that is how you impress your mentor, and you also learn effectively. So with that in mind, in short, when you want to send me a Q&A question, please be complete in your description. And I would likely to be brief, because I have many questions to answer, and I'm running out of time. So I apologize for being brief, but I hope to be helpful. The next one is interesting. Someone from Indonesia, and in Indonesian wrote this, and I Google translated, but here's the gist of it. I thought it's a very good way to describe my cut and growth method, or what I've been teaching, although he or she expressed it differently, and I'll paraphrase it. We began more than we lose, in a sense that we are starting off something that's not quite right. We're improving it. In fact, what can we choose? You know, in some sense, we got a lot of choices. Cut, and look beautiful. That means when you cut your tree, going through the process of making it beautiful, and it also stimulates growth, which is true. When you cut a branch, it forces the buds to send out shoots that give you ramification, give you more opportunity to change. Get a shape that meets specs, and style. That means you get it into shape that fits your vision of the style you want it to become, and get cleaners. That means instead of clutter, clean out the mess so that you can see the branches instead of one beautiful lump. It's really nice to see a beautiful, healthy lump, but you really don't see the beauty of what's underneath of it, the trunks. Look good, not cluttered. That means that you clean it out and it looks good. Maybe it's very sparse in the meantime. Not out of the way. That means don't be crazy about it, but be more mainstream. Get new ideas, look good. Doesn't cut, look good. That means you don't always have to cut. It's about cutting. It's about looking good. Trees are really bad. I'm not sure what that means. It grows well. It wants water, sun, wind, growth beautifully. That means it needs nutrients and all the necessary ingredients for the tree to grow, including the soil that nourishes it, and the fertilizer, and get rid of the pesticides and insects and all that. Life is simple, when you think about it, life is beautiful. What isn't right, get rid of it, and then life is beautiful. Well, anyway, I loved it. I don't think the translation conveys everything the individual is trying to convey, but I think it expresses the philosophy beautifully. Moving on to specific questions. What do I do about digging up a tree and put it into a shallow bonsai pot? I really think it's not a one-step process. When you dig up a tree in the ground, you got a lot of long roots. The shallow that's a long tap roots. The fibrous roots are very far out, so you can't put it all in a bonsai pot. If you put it in the bonsai pot, you have no fibrous roots and the tree would die. It would dry out the leaves. So what you have to do is to cut the tree back to fit into a bigger pot and cut back the big roots to fit. That will force the fibrous roots to grow into the growing pot. And then you put it next, let's say 6 months, a year from now, put it into a oversized bonsai pot, thicker pot, and then let it grow 6 months, a year, and then into a shallow bonsai pot. So that's the process. You don't do it in one step from taking from the ground into a bonsai pot. My juniper loses all its leaves. What do I do? Well, if it really did loses all its leaves, then I think it's time to throw it away. It will never recover. So when you get a juniper that's kind of yellowish, even if it's got still some green but yellowish, the chances are it's pretty far gone. But what you do is you look for anywhere inside or underneath with a little bit of a really beautiful green. Never mind the ugly yellow, but look for some beautiful green. That means the tree is still alive. And you cut it back to where the beautiful green is, or leave a little bit of the yellow stuff there. And then hopefully there's enough water, moisture to feed the leaves to make it green. It's really interesting. I have several rosemary in a pot for herbs, really. And it turned yellowish during the day. And I would put water on it, and the next day it would turn green. It's that quick. So the tree is actually communicating with you to start to will to turn yellow. That's to say, hey, I need water. And if you water it, it may just rejuvenate it. So in this case, yes, by all means, soak the root ball, make sure it's wet, and keep watering it. Hopefully it will come back and cut back the branches to enable more of the moisture going to the green leaves. What type of plants are you use for indoor bonsai? Well, I really don't advocate keeping any bonsai in the house, in the sense they need to be outdoor. But on the other hand, it is really nice to have a bonsai to display with your favorite antique or alongside your computer. So what I would suggest is the following. Get 2 or 3, 3 or 4, 4 or 5, whatever number of bonsai you have space for outside, and rotate them, put it into the in-house 1 or 2 or 3 weeks at a time, and then take it out again. You don't want to keep it in too long, even though it's nice and green. If you keep it, in fact, it will turn really nice and green indoor for a little while. But if you then take it out, it will get sunburned very quickly. The next one is about, I don't know, this is many questions, but basically what the question is that I water my plants frequently, and if it still turn green, it could be due to infestation. What do I do? You can cut off the infestation. I think talk to your local nurseryman is good because they know what's happening locally in terms of infestation. And I guess the final comment is that he has many different kinds of trees growing different kind of mix. And what he found is that using the sandy loam plus the peat moss plus the perlite worked the best, that his trees grew well. So that's a good hunk. Thank you for the confirmation that my soil mix is a good one. What kind of fertilizer do you use for your bonsai? Well, I said it many times, so please go search my previous video. But in short, I think for most bonsai per se, I recommended the fish emulsion and the kelp. Slow release fertilizer, chicken manure, they're all good. Do you use foliage fertilizer, liquid algae, humic acid, maybe super thrive? Well, it's a bit of a gilding the lily. I'm sure leaf foliage feeding is good. Why not, right? But the foliage is basically, the intention is maybe absorb raining water, moisture, but more for the sunlight. But it doesn't hurt. But for that amount of waste, that when you spray it, it goes all over the place. I think put it on your soil may be the most productive. But sure, foliage feed, yeah. What about where do I get the clipper that you use? Get it at the Michaels, or where do I get it? Well, first of all, it's a generic brand. You can find it on Amazon. But I tell you what, we will send out one of those clippers, at least in the beginning, for promotional purposes. We'll include one of our clipper, the one with the little hook that I use all the time, with every tree that we ship out initially. And then we're going to sell you a set that you can buy. It worked quite well. You will find most of the clippers work pretty well, but for slightly different purposes. So it's up to you to try different clippers for different purposes until you're comfortable and good at one, that you like the one that you use for certain purposes. Again, thank you for your inspiring video. And what is a good time to do juniper cutting, larger juniper cutting with a bump. Well, I mentioned juniper had a lot of internal roots that's ready to come out. If you keep it moist, it will come out. I don't think I like to cut juniper much bigger than that. I think you can get big ones, but I think the yield becomes low. I suspect my experience is the thinner cutting, you can do cutting at any time of the year, but just keep it really moist. The recommendation by UC Davis is 1 part perlite, 1 part vermiculite for cuttings. So I will recommend that. But I use that plus, I actually use my regular soil mix. That works fine. So long as you give it air and lots of water, that will do. So with that in mind, and again, repeat, please click like to give me some encouragement, and to subscribe to our channel, and write us so that directly about how to take care of your tree. But be specific, mark the areas that you're thinking about cutting so that I can identify which one to feed back to you, that whether I concur or not. By the way, to the person that, from Virginia, I don't want to mention names, who sent me the tree that he dug up from his garden, is sprouting beautifully. So digging up a tree even this time of the year really works. And I expect that turn out to be a really nice bonsai someday, although I'll do some really drastic cutting. With that in mind, I thank you very much for watching. Click like, and see you next week.